Well, hello everybody, and welcome to part one of the Revell's AT-AT build, or AT, as you will. I kind of got a little started last night. Just had nothing really massive to do while I was doing some stuff for Wonderfest. So this is probably going to be a fairly quick build. This probably was going to be the most complex part of the whole kit, being that this is the only part that's going to have lights in it. And I just put one 5mm LED. I probably should have put two threes, but one's working fine. One thing I will show you, because you got to do some modding to get this to work. This piece here, this window that you see, you know, on the movie, it glows red for the cockpit area. That's a solid plastic piece, so I actually had to cut that out, and I had a piece of styrene here and cut that into shape. This came from Anakin's pod racer. It's like a duplicate of his, like a sheet of his windscreen. They just seem to give you this extra piece. I don't know whether you could trace the other one and maybe cut another one if something happens to it or something, but thank you AMT, because I've been using it quite a bit and it worked great for that window. And then I just used some Scotch-Brite and scratched the other side once it was glued in there to fog it up. I thought about painting it red, but I don't want it always red until she comes on. Other than that, it was just a lot of cleanup. One thing I'll warn you about is these guns, they go on a there's a rod that goes through the head here, and they get glued onto it, and then they sit down in a channel so they can both turn at the same time. Well, you got to make sure it's not too tight, because if you do this before, I think maybe the best way to go would be to put just that rod in there and then put these guys on last. Instead of doing it like they show you to build that and then set the whole assembly down. Because if you get it too tight, she doesn't want to squeeze together. And I was having a problem on this one side to squeeze together. Another thing is this front piece here, it had a tab that went up, and that was in the way of the window, plus it had little hooks. You can see there's little hooks, that piece there, and then it has a tab. I had to get rid of that tab, and those little hooks I had to get rid of that are right there, and they kind of notched in there, and that held that piece from going, like, pushing back. I drilled little, not all the way in, but just starting holes for the cannons, just so they look like there's something, and they're not just solid rods. Even though you look on the I was looking at references in Lauren Peterson's Sculpting Galaxy, and you can see, I don't know if I can pull that page right up right away. I gotta get a new book of this because this one got wet, and I'm wondering if I should try to order one before I see him at Wonderfest. So I want to have him sign this, since this is his book. But that's going to be exciting, seeing Lauren Peterson at Wonderfest. And the other two gentlemen. There was a nice shot of the pod racer. I could do a lot more grime on mine, which I'm still working on. There it is. This is the big one that fell. So that one's like almost 4 feet tall, because they needed weight when it crashed. But there's one here. The guns are upside down too. This one here, the guns are upside down. Oh, and I need to do... Oh, I forgot about the spots. There are 2 spotlights right there. I don't have to do them because they don't always have them on. But I wonder if I can get... She's pretty much together, so I'm pretty much shite out of luck. But I could stick a tube there and then sneak a wire. But I can't get up and into anything. And then to get it through this neck. But I could have jumpered off of the power in here. Yeah, I forgot about the spotlights. I think I did that with my Bandai. I put the 2 spots, and they had you coming down and around and just... But this would have been... This is enough wire going through that neck. That bites. Yeah, there's no way to do it. I mean, all I had to do is do a styrene tube with an LED in it. That would have been just neat, and had it on a switch. That would have been kind of cool. I forgot all about the spots. But they don't always have them on. Most of the time you see them, they're not. But that would have been cool. We would have had to make... I don't know how they did it. But yeah, it's funny. Their guns are upside down. The small guns are supposed to be up top. Bigger ones are down the bottom. And then that kind of... This shield here is supposed to be from the bottom. So if any people from the ground try to shoot up at the guns, this kind of protects the controls of it, I guess. I guess that's the theory. Because as you can see, this one is on the lower half. And the small one's up front, top, and that one's on the bottom. Yeah, that would have been neat to do that. That would have been nothing to do. Just the 2 cylinders. I could have had the wires come down and go in the back. It would have looked like mechanical things on the bottom, because the only part you really would have seen, because it gets hidden by these shields, it's the little cylinder that I could have put at the end and made it look like some housing. And all it would have needed to hold is I could have put a little 3mm bulb there. Oh well, not a biggie. But it would just been nice to give the ship something a little more to her, you know, instead of just the red light in the window. But this is going to be all about the painting and the weathering and the diorama. But she's working. 9-volt battery. I gotta be quick because I know this smaller camera doesn't have much SD's card left. Get in there. I can't see if it's... Yeah, so it's on. And that's cool. That's good enough for me. Turn off this light. It's even better. Yeah. And I got some light leaks to clean up, but no biggie. So that's cool. But that I had to do a lot of thought and a lot of, you know, wasn't much to it. Like I said, I just, from the bottom in this little tub here, against this back wall, I just took an old sprue. You know, just clipped off a piece of sprue like this. Glued it on that pointing up in the center of the this head cockpit area. And then took a red LED and just spread its prongs around it and then glued it on there and ran the wire through. I ran 2 separate holes on the back of the head to get the wires through, and then 1 hole into the neck. And that gives them the ability to move back and forth, and you won't see them in there. I mean, I can now, but... And these are old wires that I cut off of probably an extension, so it's painted white. I think these are from the Galactica, so that's why they're painted white. The extra wire. So I reuse it. And yeah, that was just paint. That when I made those holes tiny as possible so I wouldn't get any, you know, light coming through. And then I could drill a bigger hole, but you won't see it in the neck for the two of them. And then they'll come in, and then they come into, say this is the bottom, you know, and they come into the body of the ship or vehicle this way. But now I'm working on getting this half together, and this is pretty easy. You know, this whole kit's not a ridiculous build. We're past all that, and you know, most of this took us cleaning up the guns, getting rid of the seam lines. So I used my little flexifile that you can, and it actually works really good. Instead of you know, less chances of getting a flat edge. So at first I was like, I don't know about that thing. I can just take a sandpaper and do that, but it actually works. It bends around stuff a little more, just enough, you know. And then if you have really, you know, you can squeeze it in, and it actually helps it bend around stuff more. But it was cleaning up all these seam lines really bad, not really bad, but you know, the seam line there and flat areas that you're gonna see it. And on the barrels, I wanted them to look, you know, nice. And like I said, I drilled little holes just to give them a little indent so it looks like they're hollow. But yeah, this little flexifile is really cheap, so, and it comes with a whole bunch of sandpaper. But it came out good. But now the trick on this is, how do I power this? Do I just run wire up through one of his legs like I did with the Bandai and power up from the base, or do I put something inside him? He's got one LED, and I'm gonna run it at 9 volts to make sure it's really bright. And you know, I could have ran a coin battery in there, but I think a 9-volt battery will last a heck of a lot longer, especially only running one LED. I wish it was 3. I wish it was the floodlights, but I screwed up. Not doing my research. Like I said, most of the movies, they're not even on. I don't even know of a part in a movie that they actually are on. I don't know. Snow World or not. Return of the Jedi, maybe. But that's only, yeah. But anyway, I'm rambling again. So, we got to figure out how to, this thing they have designed, the way it snaps together, this whole big body part, there's no way. Everything pegs in. You know, like, that's the wrong side. Everything pegs in, so there's no way to pull it apart. Because these peg into that. So there's no way to pull it apart at all. Once this is all together, it's not like I could just have this roof come off or slide this little plate piece out or something like that. So the only option I had was this. Was the back end. Back end just slides down into this piece down here. And its only other real attachment point, so that's just an up motion, was here. And there's these little notches in the right there. There's these little notches that you see right there. On the part, it has this little piece that clips into. So this would go like that. And there's your registry, because those go together like that. But that's the only thing keep me from being able to slide this down. Nothing else attaches down here. It just has that hook to go around the bottom like that, because it's going to be a slight angle. So it just has that to go around like that. So what I'm thinking is magnets. I can have this go up and clip and magnetize, and that would be the way to hold it. But I got to fill in these little tabs. So what I did is, on this one, I took my little razor saw and just, because it'll saw through stuff and not really remove a lot of, it's only gonna, you're only gonna lose the amount of plastic, the thickness of this blade, and that's really small. I mean, what is that? (1/64) or not even a millimeter, a 0.38 millimeters. So it's tiny. So that's great. So I just went, here's the piece, and I just sawed away. And then I can sand that so that's smooth. And then I just glue that little detail in there. That little clip that I sawed off of there, I can put in there. It's just going to make it easier to putty that. I mean, you would have to putty that once it's clipped in there anyway, because you'll see that. But at least that fills in and gives me the contour, so all I do is take a little perfect plastic putty, wipe it in there, and wipe it off. And that'll solve that. But then that just gives me this upper area for this to slide up into. In here, hopefully it'll work. And that'll give me the registry up there. So basically I could probably just put this piece in and do that, and then it should click with, I'll put 2 or 3 batteries. I'll put 2 or 3 magnets. I don't know if I can get some up here, because there's nothing really here unless I glue a piece of styrene to here and have it float down and put a magnet there too. But I think if I get it in this, it's going to be fine. It's not going to go anywhere. And if I can just get that bottom to clip on, that'll hold it up. And then I can go in and change the battery. And I shouldn't have to if I put a 9-volt battery in this sucker. And we can mount that back here. And I'm going to have to probably do some type of magnet mounts. Unless I can drill them in. Well, I think those are out of... I have to see how this lines up when this comes in. I think it does something like that. Or does it do something like that? It might even do something like that. In that case, I don't know if this plastic's thick enough. Probably not. Because I could always recess the magnets in. But I'll just probably build a little thing with styrene and glue them on there. And I'll just glue them right onto here. And it looks like there's some space. If these really go like that, it looks like there's some space, and they should work. I had to do that with the Falcon, is actually build the magnets up so they would connect. So that's where I'm at. But let's cut this other one off and get it on here and glued as well. And then we can start putting the rest of this, because I cleaned all the edges on this. And we can start cleaning that up. But yeah, I just take my saw and really get it down to the stiffer part of the blade, because you can already see I bent this one a couple times going in and you hit stuff. But you keep it down to the stiffer part of the blade, and you'll keep a nice straight flat cut. And I like this saw that it has a big blade. It makes it stiffer, and then it gives you a surface. It keeps that parallel. Oop, I don't want to go that far out. There we go. And this plastic's not too bad as far as, whoop, you don't want to lose that. And then I can just sand that, but it made a pretty clean cut. And then to remember, the cut side is going to be the very out, because that's the way this wall would have came in. And that's how you remember that. How they put a little glue in here. And like I said, keep cutting this piece off. Just gives you a filler. That's the cut side, so that's going to face. Beautiful. And that fills that hole in, so we just have to putty the seams. Yeah, and I mean, you could probably leave it like that even if you wanted to, but I'm going to at least fill in the seams. If they still show the little square, I'm not worried about that because that'll just, the actual seams, I just don't want to be able to see through them. If it shows some of the actual, almost makes like a panel line box on each side, I'm okay with that. It'll make it look mechanical, like a little compartment or something. Access panel to something. That's the nice thing of Star Wars, these kits. You can totally just let that go. We just need the block because the tab was way smaller than the tolerance was quite large. And we'll just, see, it gives you that nice right height, even cutting some of the plastic off. Oh, well, that's right, we cut it from this way. So, yeah, it gives you the right height. So it's going to be easy to putty just those seams in. Alright, so we got that going. We can let that cure. We pretty much solved the issue. So, what they're saying is, I already put the head together. And I should be able to access the wiring. I might have to run some of the wiring before I close the bottom onto it. The bottom is, well, sort of, kind of, they want you to put those two at the same time. Anyway, we're going to have to mod some things from the instructions. Alright, so that's not you. Well, let's clean, first of all, let's clean those parts where we sawed, because it's not going to be any easier than it is now. I'm going to take my file and get rid of that little burr. And you'll never be the wiser. Yep, never be the wiser that we cut those off. I like when these kits give me a little challenge like that, like this, or the Galactico was a lot of fun since it's the old monogram, and I had to do a lot of scratch building on that. There we go. Alright. So, again, I have the wrong. I'll get it right one of these times. There we go. Oh, I do want to check. We're going to do a dry fit again because there was a little weirdness when the bottom comes up here. I started notching this out because they weren't, the bottom, this here is not fitting really well. I wonder if I can even check just by going like this. Yeah, that's better. It was all like this. So I had to notch it so it would fit flush again. And both sides too, but this one a lot more. Okay, so I solved that problem. That's why it's always good to dry fit if you can. Sometimes you really can't because they're snap kits. Just as kinda. You could pretty much probably just snap these together the way they have the holes with the pegs. You could probably do it that way. Oh, and I can get glue in there even with them pressed because of the way those holes are shaped. I think we're safe to just go for it. And I love that they give you some paints. They give you a smaller version of this. They give you a bag of paints, a brush. They give you a smaller version of glue, which this glue would probably not take. You probably wouldn't need all of it unless you do every scene for this shit. You know, and you're not using, like I use the thin sets to get in the other side. So that's pretty neat. They give you all the paints. There's not a whole lot of colors. It's just a white, a gray, and then you're supposed to, for some areas, mix the white and the gray to get the hull color. And then you have a silver, and there's your light gray. There's your gray. There's your silver. There's your white, and then you have a clear gloss and a clear satin. All right, we gotta stop talking here, though. I have glue setting. Actually, the glue helped it snap in a little better. You know, and we got some little, you know, the way they notch these out for these pieces to come in. We're gonna have to clean some of that up. We got a little bit of a bulging right there. And that has nothing to do with anything but their mold. But it does it there too, so we'll let it live. Now, would it be... You really gotta kind of put the bottom on and then put... Yeah, and the other side in. These, I think the double here is the back, yeah, because the hole, the round hole's in there. But it also means we got to get the head in. So you slide in here. So we can do this. And we almost got wire enough to... Almost. I'm going to have to add a little more to it. Oh, and I want to make sure these are nice. I'm never going to be able to... So now that one felt a little rough. Yeah, that's better. Never going to have an easier access to those seams than right now. Much better. This top one's pretty good. Alright, make sure we have the head the right way. This does not, that does not get glued in, of course. And like we were saying, we can, this is a, that would be back there. The doubles are the, towards the us end plus all that. I think it's going to be good to catch the head and then try to get these pegs in, lined up. If I can get them started, that means the head's snapped in there. There it goes. Hey, she's looking like something. Alright, and is all that fit? Oh, yeah. I'm glad I did that. That made all that fit so much nicer. And those are going to be a lot of seams where we're going to have to squish and pull and squeeze. But we might want to actually... Well, I can still work on this just like that. So let's get this bottom glued in. At least the peg parts. And then we'll go through and... Normally you'd put this on the pegs before you squeeze them together, but since these have these little hexagon shapes, you can still get it to sneak in there. even when it's together, and that's kind of neat. It's kind of nice. Make sure everybody's happy. Oh, and that's what that is. Okay, and then that's what those triangles are, so you can only turn the head, I guess, only so far. But that side you can really turn it far. So there's got to be something. Yeah, the neck is right. Single one on top. Double on the bottom. Yeah. That double ring. Which you'd think it would be the... I don't have any reference. Let's see if I can see off this photo to make sure that neck's on there right. Yeah, doubles. Yeah. So it's on there right. It's just weird how it lets it has little markers so you can only turn it this far that way. But that is dead center. Like if that head's dead center, so it should only go that way, that much, and that way, that much. Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's neat. So you can't spin the head all the way around. There we go. Alright, but what do we have to do to glue those together? That's a whole bunch of mess there. There's those tabs. That'll squish this down. So, and then the sides got to squeeze into it. And that's going to be a lot more. I'm going to have to use tape. Grab it from there. Alright, well, we can put some of these on those little bitty tabs they gave you. That I actually had. Those are the ones I actually had to file. Difficult time getting on the other side of this one. I mean, I can get this one side, and that's probably fine. Boy, yeah, there's a lot of weirdness there to get this to line up. And it looks like these can come in a little more. And that might be it too. Not everybody's squishing in tightly. There it goes. There it goes. Yeah, there's a little pop. So these must be a snap. Normally. Oh yeah, that solved that. Just those weren't in all the way. So you gotta... Yeah, is this... Are they considered as a snap? I mean, it's a level 3, so I wouldn't think so. I mean, it does give it a little click here now and again. But that definitely solved that gapping there. So I am happy, joy with all that. And I know I saw areas where I need to... I won't worry about that later, but I know there was an area somewhere I saw where I could throw a little more glue right there. We'll use the quick set because it only needs to fill a hole. Yeah, so I had to pry that head apart a couple times to get it, until I figured out that, and grind some stuff to get these to still move. They're tight, but I don't mind tight. I would definitely want to move them together. Okay. Make sure our top is in there snapped tight, but all those look good. Now, just for giggles, close her all the way. We're just going to get her started, because then we can figure out our battery thing. You gotta be careful with these guns. But basically, there she is. And she's going to be a nice size. It's not the big resin kit that I'd love to have, but see that like Adam Savage has on Tested, that really nice studio scale one. But that's going to work. Big enough for me to have difficulty finding a place to put it, especially for the diorama I'm going to do. Yeah, now does this still give me access in here? Yeah. And then, how's this going to slide up? Hopefully this can do that. Yeah. And see, we'll just have this do this, where I can pop. Let me do that in camera, yeah. I'll just be able to pull out like that and out, and then I have a battery, maybe stuck up here or something, or velcroed down here, because I gotta see where I can place magnets. So it looks like we will be able. We'll be able to get, I don't know, how thick that plastic is. If it's actually that thick, I'm trying to think, my magnets aren't that thick. What's that? I might be able to put them right in these corners here and just glue them on. I won't even have to recess them. Just glue them onto those corners there. And I bet you I can glue them to both sides and that'll connect them. Because that's about the thickness of two magnets. Yeah, I can put them there and there. So perfect. That's going to work great. But I figured I'd show you what's the dealio with this and where we're at. I'm just going to finish up gluing all this parts, and then we're going to come back and we'll start. The next part is putting these cylinder parts that hold the legs down on the bottom and building the legs, and really that's it to it. It's just assembly. So, until next update, see you soon.